What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this Colts vs 49ers matchup on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NFL content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.dgfantasy.com. On dgfantasy.com, we give you cheat sheets for every major sport, along with ownership projections, actual projections, and strategy for every single slate. We also cover optimal cash plays as well as preferred GPP plays and stacks for specific contest sizes. We do the dirty work for you. We are also currently partnered with Fantasy Cruncher, the best optimizer in the industry. When signing up for our $30 package, you also get a $20 credit to use towards any Fantasy Cruncher product. We provide the best value in the industry. Now let's go ahead and dive right into the Sunday Night Football matchup here between the Colts and the 49ers. This should not be a Sunday Night Football contest here. This is going to be a doozy. Just taking a look here at the over-under. Right now it's set at a 43. San Francisco is a 4-point favorite at home. 43 on the lower end here in terms of an over-under. When you take a look here in terms of defenses, the defenses are actually relatively higher owned. I always start out my videos by talking about defenses and whether they are viable. I think a sharp play in general, especially if you're an MMEer, is always fading the defenses because they rarely make it into the optimal. The last slate that we saw between the Broncos and the Browns, probably one of the lower over-unders that we've seen in a very long time. And they didn't make the optimal in that one either. So just goes to show you that defenses are rarely in play. Not only that, if you take a look here at the ownership provided by Fantasy Cruncher, 16.4% here for the Colts and 17.9% or 17.6% rather for the 49ers. So it's pretty high. So a nice sharp fade there on the defenses. I'm personally not going to play them. Yes, they are in play. One of these defenses could shut down the other team because both of these offenses aren't too good. But 49ers are more in play than the Colts just because they are favored, and the Colts are projected to only score 23.5 points. All right, let's go ahead and start out by talking about the quarterback here for the Colts. Carson Wentz is expected to start. He is 40.9% owned, so I do consider him cash viable. 10.2K. If the Colts are going to do anything on offense, it's going to be through Carson Wentz or Jonathan Taylor. So one of those two, you need to have exposure to one of those two, if not both, in cash games, especially at that ownership at 40.9%. Next on the list is going to be Jonathan Taylor at running back. We have him priced at 11K, 33.5%. He's teetering on that cash viable GPP viable in terms of ownership. I think he's cash viable because this offense thrives through Jonathan Taylor or Carson Wentz. If you're fading one or the other, I'd probably lean on Carson Wentz. I think his price tag makes a lot of sense. And just taking a look here, I know these last three games were a lot more favorable of matchups, 23.4, 34.9, and 31.8. So he's been on a tear, and he's been getting the volume that we expected him to get finally, getting 16, 15, and 14 attempts. We know this backfield is technically a committee, but Nyheim Hines here has been taking a back seat in terms of the carries. He's only been on the field for about, I think it was 20%. Yeah, 23% in his last contest. Marlon Mack has actually been getting more run at 19% in terms of the snap share count. And it's actually pretty close in comparison here to Hines. As you can see, Hines went from 38 to 23% here in his past 2 weeks. So, taking a look here at the overall running back picture here, Hines at $5,600 at 15% ownership. I'd only consider him in cash. You haven't been utilizing him as much, and Marlon Mack has been eating into his snap share. So I like both of these guys for GPPs, but I like Marlon Mack just a little bit more because of the price tag decrease all the way down here at $1,400. He can hit that price point. Again, he likes to get to 2.8 DK points, and he's hit that, almost hit that in the last game, got to it in the week 5 here versus Baltimore, and against Miami with 3.3 DK points. Switching over to the wide receiver picture, we have T.Y. Hilton back in the mix. This is something we have to pay attention to. Right now, he's at 7.6K. I'm recording this on a Saturday afternoon, so we don't have the updated injury news on T.Y. Hilton. If he is ruled out, there's going to be plenty of value wide receivers here to look at going down the list. But if he does play, then yes, $7,600 is a bit too pricey just for GPPs. He did get heavily involved in the offense, but if you guys take a look at his snap counts, was only on the field about 50% of the time. So don't like that for his salary. It looks like they were trying to force him the ball, and he ended up with only 4 targets for 4 receptions. Yes, they were all long bombs. So I think this is a little bit of an inflation here in terms of his DK points at 12. Had an okay game, but again, if he's not fully healthy and if he's only playing about 50% of snaps, he's somebody I would avoid. I go right back to the well here with Michael Pittman. He got a price decrease. If T.Y. Hilton's really not going to be on the field that often, and if he continues to see the field 96% of snaps, sign me up for Michael Pittman. He did have a floor game last game, but I wouldn't let that scare you away from his price tag here, $8,800. Coming out to 32.5% ownership, so I do like that ownership as well. He's also teetering on that line of whether he's cash viable or GPP viable. I still think he's more of a GPP play because in cash, I'm leaning more on their other superstar with Jonathan Taylor. Zach Pascal is just appropriately priced at $6,200 in terms of his snap counts. If we take a look, Pascal on the field, 85% of snaps, which is a heavy dose of volume. Hasn't been getting the best amount of targets, but they didn't have to throw the ball that often in the last game because they absolutely decimated here the Houston Texans 31-3. So I'm an okay fan of Zach Pascal. I do like him over T.Y. if T.Y. does play, and if Michael Pittman does continue to get his 96% snap share count, then I do like him here at $8,800. And taking a look here at these other players on the roster, no interest unless T.Y. Hilton is ruled out. Last but not least, we have the tight end picture here, Mo Alley-Cox and Jack Doyle. Cox is definitely a boomer bust type player. Gets, relatively low targets, but whenever he finds a touchdown, that's when he pays off his price tag. He is a red zone target at $5,200, but I would only consider him in GPPs right now. We have him projected to hit 6 DraftKings points. Jack Doyle is also on the field a ton. Doesn't really get that many receptions. I do like him in GPPs at a 1K price tag. Can easily pay that off if he catches a touchdown, as we can see here. Going back to week 2 here versus the Rams. Got 8 targets for 5 receptions and a 2-point conversion. 13.4 points. So I do like him in comparison to Mo Alley-Cox in terms of the price tag. But other than that, I do prefer Cox straight up. Keep in mind the kicker here, Blankenship, is officially out here for the Colts. So don't play him. Play Bagley on the other side at $4,200 if you go to the kickers. And kickers are always viable, especially in this game script. Last but not least, we have the 49ers here at the quarterback position, Jimmy G. Jimmy G at 10.6K is definitely cash viable. Should be throwing a majority of the game, and he is the highest owned player on the slate. Really nothing else that needs to be said about Jimmy G. He is starting in place of Trey Lance. Trey Lance is officially out with a knee injury. Good timing because Jimmy G was just activated. And he's fully healthy, ready to go. At the running back position, Eli Mitchell is the man going forward. As you guys saw, he got 9 carries for 43 yards and was involved in the passing game compared to Trey Sermon, who did not see anything. He saw 1 carry for 7 yards, did do well, but when we take a look here at the snap counts, looking back at week 5, we have Elijah Mitchell on the field 68% of the time, and then we have Trey Sermon on the field 3% of the time. This was the original vision going forward. So Eli Mitchell, $8,200 does make a lot of sense. He is 40.1% owned, so I do consider him cash viable as well. I currently have him in my cash build, and it makes a lot of sense there at $8,200. Kyle Juszczyk at 4K. On the surface, looks overpriced. But this guy is always involved in the offense. At 10.2%, I actually like him as an additional value. 6.5 points, 8.1, 15.1, 3.7, but he's always getting receptions out of the backfield. That's something you love to see from a PPR perspective. At the 4K price tag, he has to hit 8 DK points. I'm not in love with him. I just think he's a very viable last piece, especially if you're landing on him. And does have some upside at 10.2%, could easily steal away a touchdown. These other guys I don't really have too much interest in. Hasty technically is questionable if he is ruled out. Then look to some of these other value running backs. But other than Kyle Juszczyk and Eli Mitchell, I have no true interest in any one of these running backs in terms of upside. Next, we have the wide receiver picture here. Deebo Samuel, $9,600. Clear-cut wide receiver 1 has been dominating in terms of the snap share. If we take a look at the snap share, it's at 86% of the snaps, $9,600, and he's been dominating. Right now, a top 10 wide receiver in terms of fantasy scoring. So nothing to hate here in terms of Deebo Samuel, getting plenty of targets, 9, 12, 10, and you expect that would pick up here with Jimmy G at the helm. Brandon Ayuk, what to say about Brandon Ayuk? Just GPP. Has not been involved in this offense whatsoever. Hopefully that picks up with Jimmy G, but he's still on the field, 71% of the snaps. I know I memorized that correctly. Just a GPP play. If he does pick it up, it's going to be in this game here, 20.6% right now at a 10-point projection. I do like him here in this matchup just a little bit more. But outside of bigger GPPs, I probably will not play Ayuk. I still think his upside is limited compared to Deebo Samuel's. And then we move on to Sanu, just a GPP option, 16.3%. And then Sherfield, I think that's how you pronounce his name, 2.4% owned. And at a $200 price tag, I actually really like him as a last piece here. Still getting receptions. technically just as many as Ayuk. So 2, 3, 3, 4. Don't hate that for a $200 price tag. I get that this wide receiver core has been dealing with a ton of injuries, but if he sees at least one target, all he has to get to is 0.4 points to hit that price point. I do like him as a last piece, and he could easily make it into my lineup for cash or GPPs. Last but not least here, we have the tight end picture. It's going to be Ross Dwelley. $4,800 I think is a fair price here, just a neutral price point. He has to get to 9.6 points. He's hit 4.5 and 9.1 in his previous 2 contests, so 15.6%. Don't hate him for GPPs. Next, we're going to cover my favorite PrizePick pick here on this Sunday Night Football slate. If you guys haven't signed up for PrizePicks, first of all, what are you doing? Enter code using DGF for 100% matchup to $100. You simply hit the over or under on any certain fantasy projection. My favorite prize pick for this slate is going to be Jimmy G, over 16 points. In his previous 3 games that he's played and he was fully healthy, he hit the over in each one of those games. So Jimmy G, I think, is a solid quarterback here. Should be throwing a lot. 16.6 points, 19.56, and 18.76. And in this game versus Seattle, he exited the game pretty early, only threw the ball 23 times. So as you can see, probably would have got the 16 in that game as well versus Seattle Seahawks. So that's my favorite prize pick, and that will end my video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NFL content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.